Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and friends. And indeed, I have brought a ton of friends, one of which has been making the rounds on podcasts all over YouTube. And you know what? I think he's starting to find himself a little bit of stardom. He obviously is a big guest for us tonight. We're very honored to have today from Windows Central, Miles Dompierre. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
I'm fantastic. Really hyping me up here. I'm just a humble guy out here talking about gaming. The star power hasn't gone to my head yet, but
Excellent.
I appreciate you guys getting me on. I'm looking forward to hanging out with the crew and talking about some gaming.
Well, you know what, Miles, to be honest, last week, 2 weeks ago, we had Jeff Grubb on, and I really put you guys on the same shelf. I think you guys are incredible community members. I think you are standout journalists in your own way. I think what I appreciate about what you guys bring is the honesty. It's something that you can see in your work when you do it, when you're on other people's shows, but more importantly, when you're on Chatterdays, your own show, which is hosted on Saturday, Xbox Chatterdays. Kind of tell the people who may not know who Miles is and what that show's all about.
Yeah, so I'm pretty grateful to have started kind of my own little Saturday podcast over for Windows Central Gaming. So if you guys don't know who I am, that's primarily where I work. You'll find all my videos, all my content, all my writing.
And tell everyone about how you got that job, Mr. Pokemon.
Yeah, so funny enough, Future, who is the parent company of Windows Central and a few other websites, they put out a post. One of the managing editors was looking for a Pokemon writer, and I was like, you know what? I love Pokemon. I got some writing chops. I'm gonna throw my hat in the ring and see what happens here. Send in my resume. I have a background in audio and video production, so I had some nods to that on there. And then Jez Corden, of all people, hits me up. He's like, hey, looking at your resume here, I noticed you have some video background. You want to make some social content for Windows Central Gaming. Give that a run. And I was like, yeah, sure. So it started off, and I was doing kind of like meme templates and social engagement focused stuff on the Twitter. And then from there, it's kind of evolved to, I guess, me being more or less the poster boy over at Windows Central Gaming on the video side, which has been awesome. It's been a ton of fun.
Well, it's great to have you a part of tonight's program, brother. Love how you came from humble beginnings. Love how you still remain humble. And of course, you keep it real with, being a part of this community and in a big way. Obviously, this is a much smaller show than some. And it's great to have you on. And I definitely appreciate you taking the time to kind of hang out with us. So thank you again, brother. And we're going to come back to you in a second. Let's get into the rest of these introductions. Now, this cast of characters are the regulars. And I want to welcome back for Cybernox. Now, this is a guy who and his family battled COVID for weeks on end, and he's here with a clear voice. He's not coughing, and guess what, folks? He's not a zombie. Cybernox, welcome back, brother.
All of what you just said is 100% true. I'm so glad to be here, man. Monday evenings here with my brothers on Primetime Gaming. First and foremost, I just want to thank all the community members that reached out. It was really, really nice of them to just reach out and, sending good vibes, good thoughts, nice messages. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Yeah, it was a little tough for a few weeks, but I'm here now. I'm better. Thank God the family's better as well. So glad to be here. We got an amazing guest with us tonight, and I can't wait to start talking again with you guys again.
Nice. Well, welcome back. And next up, you know him as the loudest man this side of Canada that can be heard in Texas. Please welcome our very good friend, middle-aged gamer guy. What's up, brother? How you feeling?
Yes. I am doing awesome. Good evening, Boom, chat, and to our special guest, Miles, and of course, the rest of the panel. And as you just heard us a moment ago, Boom was saying that he puts Miles and Jeff Grubb on the same shelf. I do believe it was Phil Spencer's shelf, so confirmed tonight, confirmed right here on the show, Miles has been acquired by Microsoft. So
Yes!
Big news for tomorrow, yes, for Twitter. But anyways, guys, we got a great show tonight. We got some great topics, and let's get right into it.
Nice, brother. Well, thank you so much for being here. Next up, the author and creator of the Everborn Saga, himself. What's up, brother? How you feeling? Welcome.
I am actually feeling like shit. Sorry, crap. But, no, as allergies have destroyed me today, I just had to take some Claritin D before we got on, but I'm doing good. I feel good in spirits.
Well, listen,
my sinuses are a different story.
Well, listen, you know what? You sound normal. Before you didn't sound so normal, but now you definitely sound much better, and we're glad to have you back. Next up, the producer, owner, and operator of 4G. Well, it's 4 Guys with Quarters, but I believe it's now 4G TV. I think it is, Clowns. Welcome, brother. You've been doing some amazing things. Thanks for being here.
Hey, what's up, man? It's always a pleasure being here with you guys. Awesome panel. Glad Cyber's back. Awesome to podcast with Miles for the first time ever. And Miles, I will be joining you soon as a journalist, as I have one article that's going to go into Wired.
Nice. Good for you, brother.
Nice.
That's a great first start, Clowns, and there's no harder working guy in the industry but you, and it's great to see you making big strides, especially with your channel. 4 Guys with Quarters has been nothing but an inspiration for me personally, and to see your growth, especially within the industry and how many industry level guests you've had, man. You guys really been putting it down, and we're happy to see that. And last and no way least, someone that started his own YouTube channel, but it's not about gaming, it's about model building and it's Gundam building, which I couldn't believe he has the patience of this saint, because if you look at how many parts come into this thing, well, I would not be doing it. Tempest Sun, what's up, brother? Welcome.
What's up, everybody? Good to see you guys here. Good to be on a podcast with Miles. Good to see you, man. I enjoyed a few of your recent videos. Cyber, I'm glad you're back, buddy. I love you, man. Good to see you in good health. And
thank you.
Yeah, excited to get into the topics, and I appreciate that, Boom. Yeah, more videos coming soon. I guess that's all I can say. It's a lot of work, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, you're doing a great job, brother. Definitely good. Love the the time, how you show the fast forward time on building these models, because wow, man, that takes patience and
easier to watch it than do it. I guess,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 100%, no doubt about that. Listen, folks, I want to open up the show as we wait for people to file on in. Let me just catch up with some of the super chats that came in. We had a first one came in for I'm Easy, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Oh my God, Tim Sweeney just confirmed that Sony are the only platform to make Epic pay for their cross-platform. What a D move, PlayStation for the payers." I didn't know about that. I heard rumors that was possible, but apparently, well, I'll have to check into that. Black Eye Dog, good generous friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "Good evening, Boom, panel and chat." Well, good evening to you, brother, and thanks for being here. Now, listen, I want to open up the show with something that I added at the last minute, because, with these shows, I over-prepare and hopefully overproduce. And this is part of the Bites and Bits section. Smaller topic, but it definitely has its weight in gold. As one of the most talked about games for the PlayStation 5 in what seems like months, for both good and bad reasons, is Returnal. And we have some information that I pulled a story from Push Square where they talk about crashes may be on Sony's side with the hardware, and other bugs are being investigated and potentially fixed by Housemarque. Now, while it's certainly not affecting everyone, a number of Returnal players are experiencing huge crashes while playing the game. This is something that Housemarque has acknowledged, although it has suggested that it's the PlayStation 5 is where the problem is and not necessarily the game. Writing on Discord, a spokesperson for Housemarque said this: This is an issue with the platform. We've sent our report to Sony. Specifically, it has something to do with a pre-start system. We haven't got a clue of what a pre-start system is, but that doesn't sound good, does it? Miles, I heard you talk about this game. Now, you like punishing games, and I heard this when you tell the story about you not playing this game as of yet, that you want to get to because you're doing something. I think you said you're reviewing Resident Evil 8 right now. When you hear about the crashes, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't get Returnal. I was in my wheelhouse, and then I saw it was a roguelike. It's not my jam. Punishing difficulty. I like bullet hell games. Like, I still play side-scrolling bullet hell games, and they're punishing. Returnal. The idea for me, Miles, is if I'm playing a game for 4 hours and I die and I lose everything, that controller is going out the window, or I'm never playing the game. So what I did is I saved myself the $75 because I knew that I wasted money on Demon Souls for the PS5 when it launched, because you want to buy games, it's a new console. I suck at Demon Souls. I knew I was going to play it, but I bought it anyway just to have a new game to play, and I put an hour and a half in, and $75 later I haven't touched it. That's why I will not play this game. For you, what are your thoughts on the remarks from Housemarque's representative about how it's actually a PlayStation 5 issue and not the software?
Yeah, all of that information is really interesting. And you see this kind of dynamic on Twitter. I have a lot of people who are playing Returnal, love the gameplay, love the loop. I'm a bit of a masochist myself.
Yeah,
so
you said that. Yeah.
I love the punishing difficulty. I've heard compared to Demon Souls that, or I've heard that, yeah, compared to Demon Souls that, Returnal is much harder. So if you had a hard time with Demon Souls, this is like a whole nother level from what I'm hearing. Yeah, it's one of those things where when you're playing a roguelike in that capacity, where I've heard runs take about an hour and a half, and people are crashing an hour to an hour and a half into a run, that's rough. That hurts. I get upset when I have to redo like 15 minutes. So, I feel for those people who are deep in there. Roguelikes are all about the run. I play a ton of Risk of Rain 2, which is kind of the same setup. Runs can take 45 minutes to an hour. But yeah, the crashes that I keep hearing about are really keeping me from playing the game, because objectively, Returnal is my jam. A weird niche horror, brutal action game is something I would totally be about. But yeah, right now I'm currently kind of got my hands on Resident Evil Village, so I'm all in on that. But
I'm jealous. I'm not going to lie, because that's my favorite genre. It's my favorite series of all time, like literally of all time. I cannot wait. I actually bought it for both the PS5 and the Xbox Series X, because I have done that for Resident Evil 2 remake, 3 remake, and Resident 7 because I love it so much. I will play it on both consoles.
Double dipping, yeah. I'm excited to talk about it. I can't talk about it yet, but I know. Second I can, I want to talk about this game with people, because it's something special. But yeah, there's been a lot of controversy with Returnal when it comes to 1080p upscaled to 4K. There's some drama surrounding that.
Yeah.
The system side information, like you said, we don't really know what the pre-start system means.
Yeah, I'm not a developer, so I don't know either.
Exactly. So for me, that's a bit over my head. I don't know exactly what that means, but it is interesting that this developer who's working on a first-party PlayStation game has basically sent their findings to PlayStation saying, this is the issue with our game and it's something on your side. So I'm curious to see kind of how that plays out, what the resolution is, if there's an easy fix to it. Yeah, because when you're making a roguelike, you can't have crashes like that. That is something that people are not going to put up with for very long.
Well, it's funny, Miles. One of the things that I've seen, and again, I don't report on rumors. Like I do my due diligence. I go to sources, multiple sources. I've used you before. I've used Jeff Grubb. I've used Xbox Era, and I will make the rounds to make sure that what I'm talking about either makes sense and is factual. Supposedly, what's going around with a lot of people is there's been a tremendous amount of returns on this game. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't know if people are returning them to where they bought them or asking for refunds because of the brokenness of it, like we saw with Cyberpunk. Oh, that's it. That's funny you say that. That's actually, I actually want to go to you next, Everborn Saga, because you have been playing this game and you had some interesting things to say. After seeing it, after playing it, after spending some time with it, do you feel it was a worthy $75 investment?
$76.42.
Well, there you go.
Who's counting? You know,
who's counting the change?
My wife. No, but the thing is, I had went on record, making some statements like everybody should shut up, like it's worth the $70. And you had replied to that, Boom, and you said, no, it's not. And after playing it, I don't know if this is a $60 game, a $70 game. I don't. I think that because the problem is, I think a $70 game has to be something that's accessible to, it should be something that's accessible to everyone. And this is not that. Like, I think it's made for a very specific audience. But if you're going to make something niche like that, should it be this full price? And again, what you brought up, Miles, those issues. And I'm sorry, everyone I know playing this game had an issue with this. There may be one or two people that didn't. And the people that said they didn't were the people who usually defend things on that side of the fence, right? So I know I had this issue, right? And it is, even after you, if it happens to you, like I didn't get the crash, I got the one where the doors don't open anymore.
Yeah, you have to change your outfit back to the original or something like that.
But you can't get back in the ship.
Oh.
So your playtime's done. None of the doors open.
Okay,
right?
well, I did not know that. There you
right?
go.
So when it happens, whatever room you're in, you're done. Now, but the thing is, they say just keep the standard suit on and it won't happen, but I don't know. But anyway, so that happened to me after a 90-minute run, right? But then I also had a 2.5-hour run, and I got to the boss, and I didn't know that I was going to the boss. I probably should have known because of where it was, but I had explored the whole biome. I get to the boss, and then I die because like I didn't prep. I didn't know that I needed to prep before I got there, and everything I had done was gone. And if you're okay with that, like more power to you. I have kids and a job and all these other things. I cannot say I'm just going to devote several hours to a game that kind of doesn't respect my time, right? So to me, this feels like it if you said that this game was the standard 60 or whatever it is, maybe in some like a PlayStation Plus kind of thing, sure, because then it's like, try it out. If it's for you, it's for you. But to find that out after spending $76.42, I don't know. Like, I knew what I was getting into, but I don't know that everyone else would, right? And there were also some, I don't know if we want to talk about this now, but there were a lot of comments comparing it to Recore, and I did a whole thread about this, but we can save that for later if you want, or we can talk about it another day. But as far as the bug, you are right. You can't have that, not for a $70 game. And the game, again, while it lives and dies on its art direction, technically, it doesn't seem like it's like leaps and bounds, like say what Demon Souls look like or Miles Morales, right? Like the graphics are not at that level. It's very pretty, but that's all in art direction. So is it really a next gen title? I don't know.
Well, it's certainly worthy of a conversation. And
but wait, I just want to add one more point.
Sure.
I absolutely love the game. I give it an 8 out of 10, and I don't know when I'll play it again. But I played it all weekend because it doesn't. One, there's issues with bugs. The other thing is, I can't play a game for 2-3 hours and then die off of whatever reason, and then that's all gone. Right.
Yeah,
so what do you have to? How many hours do you have to play to get to the end?
That's a good. That's a great question. Well, listen. Famously, Housemarque, they're a great developer. There's no doubt about it. They've had some really big hits. They launched on the PlayStation 4 with the side-scrolling shooter, which was amazing. Still is an amazing game. But none of their games, I don't think, were ever more than $40, if I recall correctly. And they've gotten more punishing throughout the years. This, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's 70. It should have been 40. Again, I'm just glad I didn't buy it. But let's get Mag. Mag, listen,
Yes,
I want to go to you next on this because you were very adamant about not buying this game because of you're in Canada. Please remind everyone what the price of this is in Canada.
Yeah, well, I know everybody's been hearing about it for weeks, but I'm going to tell you again. It's $105 in Canada with tax. Okay. Yeah. And it's not like tax doesn't exist. You say, well, it's only, I have had people hit me up and they're like, well, it's $89.99. I'm like, yeah, but we pay 15% tax here. So it's $104 and change. Okay. So every PlayStation 5 game is $105. Now, let's get into this Returnal situation here. Returnal had my attention. There's no question. I know that Housemarque has had great games in the past. I've played those games on the PlayStation 4, and I think they're magnificent. However, I'm looking at a couple things here. The first thing is with something that Miles mentioned. Resident Evil Village comes out in 4 days.
Yes, sir.
The legs of Returnal are cut out from under them. It is over, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying the game is bad. Don't misquote me or misjudge me. I'm not saying the game is bad, but you've got this huge cloud floating over your head. There, when Returnal released, everybody was, excited and everything, and that's great, wonderful. And I'm not saying anything bad about the game. I've watched the game; it looks magnificent. Randall Thor finished it in 18 hours. He is doing a second run right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
However, 6 days after that release, you've got one of the biggest releases of the entire year coming out. Right. And depending on how good the game is, it might be could be in the top 10 games of the generation. How do we know? You know what I mean? We don't know. Because, basically, look at the last generation. Resident Evil 7 was the only major Resident Evil, besides the remakes, was the only major numbered Resident Evil that came out. Was it not?
Yes.
Because Resident Evil 6 came out in the 360 and the PS3.
Awful.
So... You know what I'm saying? So they only had one per generation. This could be the big one. This could be one of the big 10, right? So you never know. Anyways, the point is, the other thing is resolution of the game. It doesn't really bother me that much. I'm not too worried about it. As long as the performance is up to snuff, that's a thing. However, speaking of performance, I want to talk about the performance issues coming from the PS5. I am not a tech guy per se, but if there are issues coming from the PlayStation 5, this is a serious problem for me. And that's another reason why I'm not going to be paying $105 for the games. And I'll tell you something else. I just looked the other day, just out of interest. Demon's Souls, which came out, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
So, almost 7 months now. It's still $105.
Wow.
So I'm deflated now, thinking to myself, yes, okay, from what I understand, it's a very difficult game. I'm going to be looking at this game very side-eyed, and I'm not going to only be looking at it because you're going to be dealing with the stress of not only the difficulty of the game, you're going to be dealing with a third-party stress that nobody needs, which is the possibility of losing everything that you've worked for, at least in a particular run. Okay? Because like Everborn said, not all of us wake up in the morning and go down to the couch, and then go from the couch and then go back to the bed. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us have things to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. I got up. I got things to do. My days are 15, 16 hours a day between the kids and everything else, or whatever, all the other things I got to do. I don't have time for that. So that's a third-party stress that I don't need in my life. And that's another reason why that I'm going to be saying, like, no, thank you. Now, the other thing is, this one thing about Sony, though, they got balls. Okay, this to them, and I mentioned this last week and the week before when we were talking with Jeff Grubb, this is a big gamble. Okay, by putting this game as a marquee price game for a unproven IP, and I'm speaking about the IP specifically, not the developer, because I like their games, but I'm talking about the IP, an unproven IP charging a marquee price that you would charge, okay, for a niche genre, by the way, something else Everborn mentioned. You're going to be charging that premium price that you would be charging for, let's say, like a Last of Us 3 or a Ragnarok, okay? Or even, what's it called? Horizon Forbidden West. Those
all
are
worth
games.
Worth the money.
Right. But those are what you charge for marquee prices. This is a ballsy move. I have a feeling that Sony was experimenting with this to see how the player base and the consumer base would react. And I think that they used this as a litmus test to see what they're going to do moving forward. And I think they used it. This is just me, okay? I'm trying not to be controversial here, but I think that they might have used this game as a sacrificial lamb to see how you know, how their projections will look going forward, or how the fans, or how the, like I said, the consumer base, how they react to not only the price but even to the genre of the game. So I think they just kind of like tested it on this game. And you know, like I said, the only other thing is one last thing I wanted to say is back to the PlayStation 5, you know, possibility of the hardware issue, okay, running this game. This got me a little bit worried now, because if I am going to be paying, let's say, it's going to be hard for me to ignore paying $105 for like God of War Ragnarok, okay, or Horizon Forbidden West.
Or even Ratchet and Clank that comes out.
Even Ratchet and Clank, because I watched the state of play, and my God, like my face was melting like the guy from Raiders of the Lost Ark, like at the end. Like I'm watching that game, and I'm like, I need this in my life like today. Yeah. I don't want to wait till June. So if I'm going to be paying that, and if you've got these bigger, let's say, okay, these bigger AAA bangers that Sony's going to be putting out, that's going to be taxing the hardware even more. Now I'm wondering if my PlayStation 5 is going to explode when the load screen comes on.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mag. And this is actually to Miles and Boom and everybody as well. How do we feel actually about Housemarque kind of putting the cards on the table and saying this is Sony's fault? Is that poor form?
That's crazy.
I don't know if that's poor form. It may have been just misconstrued. Yeah. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Like that. I don't think that was it's their fault. I don't think it was that kind of a thing. Okay. I think they just were maybe just being transparent, saying, yes, this is the issue. This is what's going on. But you know how the Twitterverse is and the YouTube, world is and all that stuff. They might have.
You know what? Let's pose this question to Miles. Miles, obviously, you're in the business. Obviously, this was a Discord. Again, this was the Discord message, and messages on text can sometimes sound different how they mean. Right, I read it verbatim how it was being reported. What is your answer to that? I mean, because if you read most of what they said, it almost sounded like the developer was annoyed, because he actually said in the same conversation, and yes, we understand there are no saves available. We've heard you. So they're getting it from left, right, and center. So it sounded like they might have been frustrated when he wrote what he wrote. Could you think that might have been what happened?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people are going to interpret the text in whatever way they want. So yes, right. You see the people blowing it up and saying, oh, the PS5 can't handle it. It's a fundamental hardware flaw of the PS5 that's making Returnal impossible to run. And I think that's probably hyperbole. It's probably some software side thing that's just this weird technicality that, when it's widespread, the release of this game, they're having issues, because there's supposed to be that feature too where when you die, your body is in the world and everybody can see your body. And there's stuff like that they basically had to suspend and turn off until they get stuff working properly. So yeah, I'm not going to say, the PS5 can't run it, because I don't think that's the reality. I mean, Demon's Souls is a great example of a game that looks great, runs really well. There were pretty much no crashes widespread at all with that release. So yeah, people are going to interpret that in the way that they want to. I think for now, unless we go months and months and there's no fix, then maybe we can start, asking some more serious questions about what exactly this is. But for now, it's a game that launched with some online components and there's crashes. So I don't know. It's as sad as it is in this day and age. It's kind of, the first week is always just a roll of the dice, it seems.
But you know what I worry about? If the game ends up like a Titanfall 2, where it's really good, but it's not positioned in a way for it to be successful. Like Titanfall 2, we all loved it, but they pull it out right next to Call of Duty. Should they have released it like right now, the week before Resident Evil? This is before you even get to the issues it's having. Right? Could they have sort of, just to Mag's point, kind of positioned? Could Sony have positioned Housemarque in a bad spot?
I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I think one of the things that we all failed to mention is that this is, well, everyone mentioned it, but there are only about 7.5 million PS5s in the wild, right? This is I think this is something else that people don't take into account, because notoriously, like their first party games, outside of a few of them, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, I think God of War, these are games that that sold well. most of their first parties sell to about 10% of their audience. So we're not going to know what the numbers are going to be for this, but I think that there's a lot going against Housemarque, where it was positioned to launch. Right, Resident Evil is basically less than a week away. You have only 7.5 million consoles in the world. Let's say 8 million, just for for giggles. 8 million consoles, and if 10% buy them, that's only 800,000 copies of this game moved. And now, with all of the bad PR over the last, this weekend, all I saw, even Randall Thor, he said he did a 2-hour and 45-minute run, and he got that screen that pops up that says error, and he's lost a level 4 gun, a whole bunch of other stuff. But it's going to be very interesting. Clowns, let's get your opinion on this. You finally got your hands on a PlayStation 5. Is Returnal in your wheelhouse?
It is not. I think I'm with the camp that thinks that $70 is too much for a game right now, and I don't know why Sony's really pushing this kind of price format when on the other side of things, Xbox has things going great with Game Pass. I just can't drive myself to pay that $70. I think I'll wait for it to come down, whether it's Black Friday or, near Christmas time, wherever. If it drops down to maybe like 20, 25, I'll pick it up. But no way I'm spending 70 on this game, especially with the fact that people are putting in this time and it's crashing on them. That's bad. It needs to be patched. So hopefully by the time I get to play it, all that's patched.
Yeah, obviously only time is going to tell, and I'm imagining it will. They do take care of their first party, and Housemarque, they know what they're doing. Hopefully they can figure it out. Let's get Cybernox on the conversation. Cyber, obviously this is your first show back, so we're going to ease you into the conversation. What are your thoughts on what you've seen about Housemarque's new PlayStation 5 exclusive? Is it in your wheelhouse to get?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm same with a lot of people here. I'm not on that $70 bandwagon. Till this day, someone please, or someone or anyone just tell me why next gen games are $70. Just explain to me the reasoning. When you just look at Sony's financials quarterly report, and they're making billions and billions on just microtransactions and sales in their store. Like, it doesn't, and this is not just for Sony, this is for all these other guys. When it comes to the $70 deal, it's just like they found solutions for that already. Microtransactions, DLC, so many tiers. Like, you have the standard, then you have deluxe, then you have ultimate, then you have like the super ultimate elite ultra combo, like, version of a game. So I don't understand. And if you from what I've seen, obviously I haven't gotten a PS5 yet. It's just too crazy to get one. It's too hard. From what I've seen, it's kind of mixed reaction. There's a lot of people that love the game, a lot of people that have experienced bugs, a lot of people that experienced bugs but now are putting the game down waiting for patches to play. Like, that just doesn't scream to me, one, first, next gen, and two, worth the $70 entry to try that game. You know what I mean? So it's kind of it's kind of like appalling to see a lot of people just standing up and justifying the $70 purchase and putting this game aside just to try and play it when it gets patched. Like, if they're already charging you the $70 and calling it a next gen game, I hope that you, as a consumer, as a console gamer, because this only happens in console, like PC is still doing, like games that come out on PC still are probably, I think, $50 still, and they get all the bells and whistles. They still get all the, the graphical fidelity. They get all the ray tracings. They get the frames. So this only happens to consoles because we accept it. But in regards to the crashes and things like that, I think you guys hit it right, the nail right in the head when it comes to a developer or someone or somebody in PR just being frustrated and knowing what the issue may be, and it's potentially not their fault or something that's not going on the system side, and then they just said something like that. But yeah, I can go on and on about the $70 thing all day. Returnal to me was probably a game that they shouldn't have tried to sell it at $70. But like Mag alluded to, this is probably a trial, and and see how the audiences were gonna you know be exposed to it, and see if they would accept it. But right now is a time that we haven't seen any game come out, so everyone is starving for any new game. So depending on how well this game sells, may not be a real look at exactly or what how the audience feels, because what we're seeing now is the after effect of after everyone has purchased and seeing how they react to this game. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a mixed messaging on Twitter. This game is not really for me. This, it just doesn't. But you never know when it comes on sale or something like that, and I get my PS5, I can definitely try it. But from what I've seen, mixed messages, and it's just sad to see that one of the first games that from Sony to come out, it's coming out to this notion.
Yeah, no, listen, yeah, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head. Many PlayStation 5 owners, including myself, want new games. I cannot wait for Ratchet. I'm an old school cat where I love platformers, so I'm looking forward to that. And Returnal was on the radar, and then when they said it was a roguelite, I said, nah, just not for me. Let's get Tempest Sun's final opinion on this. Tempest, I know you don't have a PlayStation 5 yet, but hearing Housemarque kind of point the finger at Sony, hearing that a lot of people are in fact losing hours upon hours of play for what seems like to be a game that's broken. And I'm not saying it's as broken as something like Cyberpunk, but it's certainly, there's no saves in the game from what I understand. And when you lose, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours worth of play, I don't know if I'd ever pick that back up again. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this whole situation is a mess, and I feel bad for the people that are having these issues that spent, full amount on it, and I feel bad for Housemarque. I don't know the behind the scenes. I don't know if they told Sony this is a full price game, but price dictates a lot of times what you think of a title going into your purchase. State of Decay 2 was $30. I knew I was getting a AA. There's some other that I got. What's that one from Spiders? It was I can't remember, but it was like the RPG. They sold that for $50 new, even though it was like a BioWare like game. Couldn't have been cheap to make, a lot of work, but it was $50. So I knew it was going to be a like AA fantasy RPG, right? $70 screams, it should be. I mean, even Sony came out with Sackboy. I think that was what, $50 discount title.
Yes.
So even they did that. So you're thinking AAA experience, and everything I'm seeing. Some people are saying it's AAA, but the majority, from what I'm understanding, is it's really not a AAA game. That's what I'm understanding from people's comments. So I feel bad for him. Imagine if this really is on Sony's end, and they're getting this bad reputation. They haven't released that many games. The games that they released, they got a reputation of people enjoying their games, their indie games. And now they released their first quote unquote AAA according to the price and according to Sony and how they were pushing it. And it has all these issues. This could, I don't want to say this could bury them, but it's not gonna help, And I honestly feel bad for him. Truth be told, I don't know really to say other than that. I feel kind of bad. I think Sony hung him out to dry, to be honest with you. Is what it is, man. I just hope that they can update this game and get some goodwill back before their next title. If I don't see this game selling a great, and if that rumor is true with a lot of returns, this is bad. This is like probably really bad for them if it doesn't sell. I don't see them. Do they do a game with Sony again? Like, honestly,
it's funny. It's funny you say that. You ask a lot of fantastic questions. People considered CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk a failure, but they moved 14 million copies after the
money in a day.
I never in Cyberpunk, I never lost more than I had a couple bugs where I had to reload and I lost maybe 2-3 minutes. Legit. That's the biggest issues I kind of had. There was T-posing and stuff like that. But, I never lost 3-hour runs in a roguelike game due to the game crashing. And I paid 60 for Cyberpunk, not 70. So, it's
let
not
me
a
ask
good
you a question
situation.
then. Let me ask you guys a question. What makes this a $70 game?
It's a new
those that
IP.
played it?
It's on the PlayStation 5, and Sony wanted to make money. It's funny, Miles. One of the things that many people thought, including myself, when I first saw the game, I was like, okay, they have really hit it big time. I love Housemarque. First of all, I've always asked why they have not been acquired by Sony. Like I thought for years already they should have been acquired. Them and Blue Point, for that matter. And I thought that when I first saw this game, I said, okay, this is going to be the game that, like, for instance, Insomniac was acquired after Spider-Man because, I mean, look what Spider-Man did. Look what they were able to do. And it's probably one of the best purchases Sony has ever made, right? This game was supposed to be, at least in my humble opinion, that game that basically told Sony, yeah, we need to invest in this company and make them in-house. Now, after this, I don't know if that happens. And if in fact it is a Sony problem and not a Housemarque problem, I feel that I agree with Tempest. I feel bad for them because I think that they kind of got hung out to dry.
You know what, though? I don't think that anyone's looking at sort of Housemarque the way. I don't think they're in any danger in the way that CD Projekt Red was. No one really I don't know anybody that really blames them for what's going on. Like, people are upset about what's happening, but like, I feel like for the majority of people that are playing it and talking about it, they're sort of putting up with the issues, right? I just don't see it as the same sort of PR fiasco that was Cyberpunk, but it's not as big of a game. So maybe that's why.
I mean,
that's the social media aspect of it. I get that people are willing to put up with it, so to speak, right? But listen, I don't know what they were compensated by Sony. I don't know the amount of money they got to make this game, what kind of help they got. If it comes out at $70 and nobody wants to spend that money on this game that, like I said, it seems like it's more of like a AA and it should be priced as a AA. If they don't make any money, like I said, this could be bad for them. Like, this might be detrimental. I don't know what Sony paid them. For all I know, maybe they paid most of the development, costs. If that's the case, then, no big deal to them, I guess, but we don't know that. So if a game comes out and it doesn't sell many copies, developers make games for a reason, to sell them and make money, So I don't know. I just feel like everything was stacked against this. So I think, no matter what way you try to slice it, I just don't see it as like a great situation for them. So
no, well, I mean, listen, time is going to tell. Somebody want to jump in?
No, I was just going to say, like, they do have a little bit going for them in that there has been a drought in terms of sort of next gen releases. So a lot of people were hyped to get this game. Like, I can't tell you the last time we saw a game where everyone was sharing screenshots and gameplays and complaining about crashes and things like that. Like, maybe since Cyberpunk, right? Like, a lot of people that have a PS5, they have not had an exclusive game since November, right?
Yeah.
So
well, you feed a starving man a cracker.
Yeah, but
it's
I mean,
gonna
you know
be
what
filet
I'm saying?
mignon. Yeah.
The starving man had to pay $70 for that cracker.
Well, the thing is, at the same time, like I was saying before, you've got Resident Evil literally 6 days later.
Friday.
That's true too.
You know what I mean? And that's a lot of people are going to hold off. I'm not, like I said, I'm not saying anything against Return. I think maybe people maybe pick it up later, whatever, Returnal. But I mean, with Resident Evil in everybody's crosshairs, I mean, that, like I said, I think that was more of a sacrificial lamb sort of thing, just to see how it would go. You know what I mean?
Well,
I see how it would go over with the fan base. I don't know.
Yeah, it does have a very Titanfall 2-ish reminiscent characteristic to it. Not necessarily between behemoths, because obviously the only thing that we launched before it was a few smaller games, but that certainly afterwards is definitely Again, you know what, we'll know next month when the NPD numbers come in. If it's in the top 10, then they did great. If it's not, then we'll have this conversation once again. But I want to move on to the next topic. And we had something big, and I'm going to get to the super chats, folks. I promise. I know a ton of them came in. As soon as we're done with the next topic, I will get to them. But I have to talk about what dropped today, Miles, and this is big. One of the biggest FPS Boost launches in any one shot happened today. Microsoft dropped 74 games that got the FPS Boost. Now they have 97 games in total. And what's funny? Before I even knew that this was going to drop, someone had reached out to me and gave me some info on it, which of course I won't disclose, but I kind of got wind that this was going to happen. So obviously when I wrote today's show, I wanted to talk about the importance of game preservations, especially with you, Miles, because it's something that Microsoft is doing not only well, but they are one of the few big time developers / publishers that are supporting games that go back all the way up to the OG Xbox that released in 2001. And we're seeing this games that are like near 20 years old get these boosts. And it's funny because you heard Sony's Jim Ryan talk about generations, but no one has really taken a bigger stance on generations than Microsoft, and more specifically, Miles, Phil Spencer. At E3 2017, when he was doing a time interview regarding its importance. I just want to read a quote from Phil. I want to get your opinion on the FPS Boost that launched today, and your opinion on the preservation of older games. This is what Phil had to say. He says, "I look at video games as an art form. I'll go back and watch Gone with the Wind and Citizen Kane. I'll read The Lord of the Rings. I'll listen to early Rolling Stones and Zeppelin albums. And I think it's important that art media lives with us and we learn from it. I think games are the same. Not every game, just like not every album is a perfect work of art. But the fact that these games are still playable and are foundational to a lot of what we play today, I think is a good thing for us to keep close as an industry and learn from it." And he finishes this interview with Time and says this: "Things like Tetris, should people be he said things like Tetris, should people be able to play Tetris? Absolutely. These were something that was considered magical about what it was, and people still play that game. Minecraft was first launched in 2009, and here we are 8 years later during this interview, and it's bigger than it's ever been. I don't think it's a good thing when games become unplayable for technical reasons. It doesn't mean everyone should go back and play every game." Miles, when you hear Phil Spencer talk about generations, about the importance of game preservation, and you see Microsoft leading the charge with FPS Boost games that go, I mean, the list is massive. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so first off, to that specific quote from Phil Spencer, beautiful, kind of resonates with me for a lot of reasons. It's wild to me to imagine a world where I go on Twitter or I go online and I say, you know what? My favorite movies, my favorite albums of all time, I'm not going to go back and play those. Or I'm not going to listen to those. Those are old. I'm not going to listen to old albums. I'm not going to watch old movies. Nobody does that. And there's this kind of weird rhetoric from some people online about, I don't want to play old games. I only want to play new games. And yeah, Phil Spencer brings up great points. Video games are an art form and they should be kind of cherished in that same way. Castlevania Symphony of the Night, to me, there's still nothing that has filled that gap. So that is a game that I will go back and play time and time again. Link to the Past, Super Nintendo, first game I ever played. I still go back and play it. Like Phil said, like not every game is worth going back to. Voodoo Vince, I tried. I bought the remaster. It's
I actually beat the remaster, believe it or not.
I'm glad it's an option for people. But yeah, preservation is so important. And for the longest time, I would buy the retro consoles, and I just have this closet full of retro consoles, retro games that realistically, I'm just too lazy to hook up is the reality.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Xbox is catering to me and I have this huge catalog of original Xbox games that not only can I play, but they play better than they ever have before, that's huge. Give me that convenience, make it easy. I remember when I first tried, what was it, Star Wars Battlefront, the OG Xbox game in 4K. Blew my mind. That game, those Jason Ronald and the backwards compatibility team are truly wizards over there. So we have FPS Boost, that list of 74 games, incredible. No Dark Souls 3, so I do have to boycott Bandai Namco. But outside of that, Alien Isolation, Recore, a ton of great games that, it sucks because I didn't used to be this guy. But now that I have a high-end PC, now that I have a Series X, now that I have a PS5, I don't want to play stuff in 30 FPS. I hate being that guy, that FPS snob. I'll do it. I'll do it if I have to. But if I have the option to get 60 and it's as easy as Xbox makes it, yes, every game, FPS Boost, let's go. That team is incredible. That, preservation is incredible. And Xbox is absolutely doing it better than anyone in the industry. I remember the last time I was this excited about backwards compatibility was the Nintendo DS Lite, because I could play my OG Game Boy games on my DS Lite. And now here we are in the future, and I can play my OG Xbox games on my Series X, and it's amazing. It's beautiful.
And how funny is it? Oh, sorry, Boom.
No, that's it. No, get Cyber.
And I was just gonna say, and how good is it that it's no stress on the developers? This is all Microsoft doing all the FPS work.
Yep.
Putting out these games.
Some of these games are going to see a increase in sales too. I guarantee.
Oh man, it's amazing. Like kind of like Miles said, it's what that team is doing. It's absolutely amazing.
It's Cyber. I'll bring you into the conversation that you jumped in, brother. One of the things that was real interesting about this particular article that you found on Xbox Wire, which is where I was able to pull it from, is that most of the games, and they said it specifically in the article, are in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. So if you are a subscriber, and there are near 23 million of them, you're going to take advantage of not only over 400 games in the service, but they're all going to be, if you have the TV and obviously the new consoles, you're going to be able to take advantage of it. I think that is huge, dude. Where do you go from here?
I know, man. It's absolutely amazing on what they're doing. There are 44 games right now. I'm looking at it right now. They made a category specifically on Game Pass that's called Games with FPS Boost, and there are 44 games right now in that category. And the diversity in games is also, I think, very telling. Like they're not doing this kind of upgrade or optimization just for certain games, just for first-person shooters. Usually that's where a lot of people love to see the high frame rate. No, they're doing it for everything. Halo Wars is on there, like Hollow Knight, like Don't Starve, like all these games, Overcooked. You know what I mean? Like they're giving all these games, or whoever they can, whichever developer signs off with, or they can get their games to work with FPS Boost. They're giving all games love, and that's something. It's amazing to see that, and exactly what you said about Phil Spencer, like that quote, and what he said in the interview, and exactly what Miles alluded to earlier as well. Like when you're done playing your new game, what are you gonna play? Nothing, or you're gonna go play something else that you've been playing before. You know what I mean? Like it just this game, what they're doing, bringing these older games, giving them a breath of fresh air. It's just good for the consumer overall. And they're literally charging you nothing as long as you have the hardware and you have the means to enjoy these extra features. It's just like, here you go. All you have to do is turn it on, because some of the FPS boost comes off by default. You just have to go and turn it on. But now you're experiencing these games. If you've never played some of these games, at probably the best way that they've been optimized, and you can't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, and it's funny because we talk about backlogs, right? Like, all of us have backlogs tall as we are. Like, I'm a 6-foot man, and I got a backlog bigger than me, right? You know what I'm saying? I think everyone does. And what this does is like, for instance, you mentioned two particular games, and don't you know I just moved those both games onto the SSD as Alien Isolation I never beat and Recore I'm at the end. And I'm telling you right now, I played Recore for about 45 minutes. My God, it's fast. It's so fast. It's unbelievable. Again, this is they're what Microsoft is currently doing is giving more than we could possibly, in my opinion, even deserve. Because think about when you talk about consumers and how to treat them. Like I said, you can go on record and say Nintendo beats us over the head. I'm part of the problem. You know how many Nintendo games I went out and rebought for like the 10th time. I'm the guy. I'm that guy. I went out and bought Mario 3D World, even though I know I have it on the Wii U and I got every star. I went out and spent another 6501 to play it on my Switch, and I'm gonna, I know I'm a part of the problem, but Microsoft really makes it easy for their customer base to love what they're doing. I mean, and they're really hitting on all switches. Miles, I just wanted to ask you one other question. Cyber mentioned something about sales. And when you find, specifically as a journalist, as someone that, has that's in the business, when you see Microsoft say, hey, listen, we're giving all of these upgrades. They don't cost you a dime. And by the way, if you have Xbox Game Pass, most of these games are in there. Is this a kind of the bait on the hook to get people into Game Pass?
It's another kind of tool in the old Xbox Game Pass utility belt. And it's cool that they have that section now of like FPS Boost in Game Pass to showcase, what Xbox is doing as a platform to get you hooked. And the fact that, they're obviously leaning into stuff that is in Game Pass because we know Game Pass is the biggest metric for their success. It's their biggest piece of their business right now. So yeah, it's interesting that they really have this option. As long as the engine allows it and as long as the publisher's okay with it, they can boost your games. And we're going to probably see publishers who want to sell that remaster, and they are not going to allow Xbox to do that. And it's interesting that Xbox has that approach because in theory they could do it, but I also understand they have to play nice with their publishers, and that's why they worded it in that way that says we can do this, but we are not going to do this without the consent of our publishing partners and all that PR stuff.
Playing politically correct is always the right way to go.
Exactly. But yes, Game Pass, everything going forward for Xbox is going to be pushing Game Pass in some way, shape, or form, pushing that platform. So yeah, the fact that they're leaning into Game Pass for FPS Boost doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Boom, if you don't mind, I'll just mention one more thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the thing with FPS Boost is, I think we mentioned here before, like there's a difference a little bit with visual quality, like picture quality and resolution, right? Like sometimes depending on your hardware, your TV set, like, oh yeah, this game looks good, but with frames, you can actually like see the difference, especially between 60 and 30. And Microsoft is trying to bring 60 to be the new 30. 60 wants to be the new norm. Kind of like Miles mentioned earlier too. He's been, accustomed to 60 his whole time. So when you go back to 30, it just feels like it feels awful. So them bringing especially one category saying, hey, FPS Boost, and someone goes and clicks on that and experiences 60 frames for the first time, let's say, it could be potentially a game changer. You know what I mean?
I see what you did there. Game
yeah,
changer.
You like that. So Everborn Saga, let's get your opinion on this. This is a big deal. This is a total of now nearly 100 games that have received FPS Boost, and the developers themselves had to do nothing. Microsoft didn't charge for it. It's just an addition to you having the new consoles. What are your thoughts on this, dude?
No, I think it's great, and I think it sets a tone. And so something you and Cyber had brought up, I was just thinking, like, I have firsthand experience with, like, from this weekend. So as you know, I had been playing Recore this weekend while I was playing Returnal, just to see why people were comparing them. And I had never played Recore before. I didn't like it when I first saw like the trailers for it back in 2016. Okay. And so I never really looked at it. So I played it and I had a lot of fun with it. I played it on xCloud on the iPhone. and I played it on the Series X. And I played it over the weekend when it was still 30. And then the news drops today, and I go turn it on. It's already enabled.
Yep.
It's a whole new game. And I'm playing it on the CX, right? So like it really is like you said, Cyber, it's a game changer. And I could literally see the difference because I had been playing all weekend at 30, and just to wake up today and have it at 60, like it slaps you in the face. But the broader discussion here, or the broader point, is something I have always said since the first time I guested on Primetime Gaming, which was games are art.
Yes.
They should not be considered as disposable commodities.
Yep.
That you get it, you throw it away, and that's it. You never hear from it again. And shout out to you, Miles, for mentioning the greatest game of all time, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Now,
Miles is clapping.
The idea that these are primarily in Game Pass. We're saying, hey, not only are we not up-resing, but sort of adding auto HDR and then adding this FPS boost so the games feel different, right? They feel like they are made for today. The barrier of entry is taken away when you say these things are in Game Pass. I only tried out Recore because it was in Game Pass. I wasn't going to spend money on that, right?
Right.
So, but it really is a fun game, and there are so many others, right? Like Titanfall 2, right? Like all these things are they're sort of changing the archaic way that we have come accustomed to just being, customers of this industry, right?
Titanfall 2, everyone, I bet Titanfall 2 will go up to 120
frames per second. Yeah, but
is that on the campaign or just multiplayer?
No, that's I think
everything.
I think on everything, dude.
Oh, well, I know what I'm playing tonight. So the thing is, like this is a new standard. Like they're sort of forging a new path that everyone will have to follow in the way that I think they brought online gaming to the console space and achievements and things like that. It's a big deal. I think we see more of it, and I think this sort of gets us in the direction about, like, it's not like marketing speak. Like, forget about a generation, right? PC has never thought about generations, right? You buy a game, you get new hardware, you get a new video card, and it will run better. This is not a foreign concept. These are only sort of manufactured constraints that are put on us by the console industry, right? But just because a thing has always been a certain way doesn't mean it needs to continue to be that way, right? And if we're doing this, and if it allows people to experience old games or older games, how about we get away from old games? It's just a game, right? So
agree. Games.
Right. It allows us to experience more things. And yes, it's not only about old games. I see people in the chat saying this is all about, old games. Where's the new stuff? The new stuff.
It's
I'm
coming.
Gonna play it's coming next week, and it already came. Right. Like I was playing Outriders last month. Right. I'll be playing Resident Evil this month. Right. There are games there.
I'm playing Second Extinction now, and I'm addicted. It may not be everyone's jam, but I'm loving it.
And guess what? I'm also playing Returnal, right? Like, so let's just get away from the us versus them thing for a second and just think we're all sort of gamers, and this is good, right? Yeah. And we should all champion this thing.
No, 100%. Listen, as we closing on 500 people here tonight, man, I want to thank everybody for coming out. Yeah, please hit that like button.
I want to see 100 likes. If we can, at least
listen, I'm gonna be petty here, folks. Listen, you're enjoying the show. If I've seen guys do this.
In the house.
I would not. Here. Yes, we got Miles. I mean, Miles Dompierre. I mean, just by the last name, it screams royalty. So, I mean, come on, hit the freaking like button for the royalty in the house, for crying out loud. Let's get Clowns. Clowns, are you here, brother? Okay, so Clown stepped away. We'll go to Tempest, son. Tempest, what are your thoughts?
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Clowns, what are your thoughts on the newly added addition boost FPS Boost games, bringing it to a total of 97 games?
I think that's fantastic because that's a service that they're basically providing that for free to us as a service. Nobody really specifically asked for this, and it's just something that Xbox said, hey, we can do this as long as our partners agree to it, and we don't have a problem doing it for you guys. So have fun with it and enjoy it. And who's going to complain about something that's added to a valued service at no charge to you? I mean, we're not paying extra for this, and it's just Microsoft and Xbox doing something right for their consumers. It's more of their consumer-friendly moves, consumer-friendly actions. It's to help get more people into their service and their ecosystem. And I think, to be honest with you, I think it's great because it just provides more value. Whether the games, it doesn't matter to me if the games are old, doesn't matter if they're new. The fact is, they're taking their time to do this, and it's not costing you a dime.
Yep.
How many places you can go to get added services and not pay extra? Tell me. Like, there's not a lot. And they're doing this for us gamers at no extra charge. Nobody said, hey, you guys got to pay for this. They're just doing it because they want to be consumer friendly. They want to be that face that says, hey, come over here. We appreciate you guys, and we're going to show you guys that we appreciate you.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point, and no one's doing it better right now than Microsoft. Tempest, son, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Obviously, again, I see there's always a narrative online which is frustrating, right? And you know what? I've talked very highly about Sony's first party games. It's why on the PlayStation 5 I love their experiences, but we cannot deny what Microsoft is doing because they are quote unquote old games. I get really frustrated when I see that because in the last couple of weeks, there's been a ton of new games. You know what I've been playing? Like it's basically cocaine is Titanfall 2. I can't stop playing it. I have almost all the achievements and I can care less. I just enjoying playing online and dropping big mechs onto people's heads. I'm just having a blast with it. Game came out in 2016. What are your thoughts on the additions to this, Tempest?
I think it's absolutely incredible. Honestly, I saw that list and I heard that there's going to be a few games added. A few games. This is ridiculous.
74 games later.
74 games. And you know what? Right at the top of the list, Alien Isolation, a game that I feel was way better than the reviews would let you believe. A game like that, Dragon Age Inquisitions. Okay, true story. My wife loves Dragon Age, and she wanted to play through it again, Inquisition. So I literally went through the hassle of downloading everything for the PC and hooking the PC up to the big screen so she can play with a controller. Come to find out, I think that game I had to do some extra work on my end to get the controller working. So it's not really like a console game on the PC, so to speak. It's 60 frames per second now. Things like that are incredible. I'm seeing more stuff about Recore. It was just mentioned in this show. I know because there's similarities to Returnal that some people are talking about it. But honestly, I played that on PC. I would have loved to play that on my console back in the day. But just like Miles is saying, hey, Miles is a better man than me. At a certain point, I bought a few games. One of them was Far Cry 5. I bought that game. I played it for a few hours and realized, hey, I like this game, but I couldn't do it, man. I bought it for the Xbox. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to play this. I don't want to play it. It's 30 frames per second. I can't stand it. Like, I sound like a snob, but I'm not kidding you. If I play a game and it's like a first-person shooter or something of that nature, and it's 30 frames per second, like I can't handle it. Like I get a headache looking at it. It makes me want to like vomit. It's just so slow. So, dude, this is awesome. And like real talk, PC is like a whole nother thing. There's console only players are a thing. People got to stop thinking that they're not. Not everybody has a PC or a high-end PC, a gaming PC, you name it. A lot of people don't know what it's like to play a game that's 5, 6, 8 years old and just hit the max slider and max everything out and get your 60 frames or 120 frames, whatever it is, 144 frames. A lot of people don't know what that's like. Xbox is giving you a taste of that. PC is its own deal. Just like Nintendo's its own thing, PC's its own thing. Trust me, it's almost like it's a whole nother universe over there if you decide gaming on it. Like you yourself, Boom, like you won't touch a PC for gaming. You just won't, And there's a lot of people like you. So this is pretty much unheard of. This is the first time this is happening. Bravo to Microsoft for doing this. Nobody really asked for it, but they're doing it anyways. And they're not just giving you a few titles like we thought they were at a time. 74. Like, wow. I can't get over that.
And Tempest, what you said is like super true. Like I have a 3080, 64 gigs of memory, solid state, NVMe, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I game i9 10900 KF, when I game, I want to game in the living room. That's just where I feel comfortable playing. I want to play on a couch. I don't want to like do the whole thing, like I'm not doing that. When I'm on the PC, like if there's a game that I can only get on the PC, or there's something like where like Cyberpunk, I had to play it on PC because there were so many issues on console, and then like Flight Sim because like you need a beast for that. So if I have to, I'll do it, but it's always like begrudgingly. Even though I know the graphics will be better, I feel more comfortable gaming in the living room. It's just, I'm sure there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, for me too. Like I have a family, and I'm at the end of the wall. My back is faced to the rest of the house. So like if I'm spending a lot of hours on the PC, my back is literally to my family. You know what I mean? It's like if the kids are up, I won't sit there and play Grand Theft Auto 5 in front of them. They're too young, but like for the most part, I just enjoy being around the kids, my wife, whatever. So just like I like console gaming. I do both. I'm one of those people that partake in all of it. But there's something to be said for playing a console, and just not to beat a dead horse here, but listen, this is new for console people. And I want to know if Sony's going to try to follow suit. I doubt it. I mean, I don't feel like I can give enough credit to try that. But like for future consoles, I hope this sticks. I think console player only people should be able to experience this. So once again, bravo Microsoft. And this is just why I've been a fan. They're the $1 trillion company, big bad evil corporation, Microsoft owning everything. But they're the ones giving us all this stuff. They're giving us stuff like Game Pass, FPS Boost, things that we're not even asking for. They're giving it to us. And that's why, at this point, I can say like I love Xbox, and thank you. So this is why I'm probably always going to be sub to Game Pass Ultimate, like always.
No,
so.
I mean, it makes perfect sense. And let's get the final opinion over here from the loudest man on the panel for sure. Mag, listen, this
Yes.
What's interesting to Tempest Sun's point right now is that Microsoft has a team, Jason Ronald's led team, that is in charge of backwards compatibility, making FPS Boost a thing. And obviously he helped create the Series X, the Series S. He's obviously a guy that that Microsoft looks to, and they have an entire team dedicated to making quote unquote old games look brand new. I mean, something like KOTOR, you can play an OG Xbox game that supposedly is going to get remade, but you can play right now. If you never played that game, you could play it right now. What are your thoughts on the addition of not 10, not 15, not 40, not 50, 74 games being added, and again, adding to the conversation of gaming preservation?
My feelings on gaming preservation is it's always been something like, everybody else has said it on the panel here, but there's something that Everborn had said that, actually, I'm going to go back to something that actually George Lucas said, and it's something that he's always held dear to him when people ask him about what he used to do with his movies, whether you love him or you hate him, okay? But he did say something interesting, and he said, a work of art is never truly finished, right? So that you look at something like these situations now where you can improve the performance of it, because this is art. And that was something that Everborn was saying. This is art. It's not art that you go to the museum and stare at behind a rope. Okay, this is an interactive art, but it is still art. Because if you think about it, think about the creative processes that go into this, the love, the devotion, the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours poured into it, all the creativity, their blood, their sweat, their tears. Is that not art? That is art. And it's something that should be preserved, should be celebrated, and should continue, in my mind, continue to be revered for years to come and say, wow, look at that. That's incredible. Look what they did here. And I do that. And the reason why I do that is because I was there when it was a stick and another stick and a ball. You know what I'm saying?
So was I. 1978, right? My first console ever.
That's right. Me, 1979. Now, the thing is that we came from that to what we see now. And so I think that because we weren't born into this new, let's say a newer generation or in the 2000s or whatever, we've witnessed the growth of this industry, not only of the industry, but also of the art form itself, from going from must blast aliens to all of a sudden extremely emotionally complex stories and everything else, right? So these are, this is an evolution of an art form, and it's something that we should look back on, because you have to see where it started. You know what I'm saying? And then you go forward from there and you say, look where we are now. This is magnificent. So you appreciate the journey, right? That's the way I see it. Now, as for Microsoft and Jason Ronald and his teams and what they've been doing, nothing short of magnificent. And you can truly tell that it's, honest to God, it's a labor of love. Because why else are they doing it for free? There's another reason. I'll get to that in a moment. But, you look at other situations, like Tempest was saying, they're doing this for free. McDonald's, smiles are free, but you still got to pay $1 to get a little bucket of barbecue sauce. Okay?
Well, how come nobody ever smiles at me when I go to McDonald's?
Yeah, I know. Nobody ever smiles at me either. Mostly because I don't eat anything. But anyway, that's a different story. But anyway, the point is, the other thing is on the business side, let's not be fools here, okay? This is a $1 trillion company, okay? This is also for them. It's also a testing ground. If you think about it for just a moment, it's a testing ground for them, for their little focus groups and all that kind of stuff that they got working in Microsoft. What do they do in there? They look at them to see what kind of popularity, engagement, and interest of some of those games that people, so that maybe one day they could revisit some of those franchises, right? So that they could release something like, let's say, Crimson Skies becomes a thing. Okay, all of a sudden. Then they're like, maybe Phil and Matt maybe sit down one day.
Please.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And what if Phil and Matt sit down one day with a couple of the other dudes and they're like, does anybody want to give Crimson Skies a next-gen go? You never know, right? Because if the engagement is up, I mean, look at what's happening with Titanfall 2 right now. Titanfall 2 is the talk of the town from 2016, but it is the talk of the town now. And what's that telling you? Respawn is being bonked over the head with a hammer going, make Titanfall 3 screw off with that other battle royale.
I got news for you. I think Vince has probably already gotten order of protection against me, because I have wrote to that man more times than I am willing to admit live on the air. I almost think it's gross that we don't have a Titanfall 3 and that Apex Legends
it'll come. It'll come.
No,
but I think it'll come.
But Matt, yes. you have an amazing point, because, and if we always make the comparison to Netflix and Game Pass, right? Mm-hmm. How many shows that didn't really have a life when they were airing on their normal run?
Yes,
and then it comes together and it gets like this cult following when it's on streaming.
Yes,
and then they end up doing a new season.
Look at the Devil Show that was
Lucifer,
yes,
the DC show. Yes,
there you go.
You got Lucifer. A ton more examples. You've got Dexter coming back after 10 years because of its engagement on Netflix, American Netflix, because they removed it off the Canadian Netflix. But Dexter was on there. Now they're getting a new season coming after 10 years because of the popularity. And that's what I was trying to say. I mean, they're gauging to see what kind of interest is coming from these older IPs. Now, the other thing, speaking of older IPs, something that Miles was talking about. Like the movies that I watch once every few months, I swear to God, every couple of months, I'll sit down and I'll watch The Shawshank Redemption. And the other one I'll go right into is Casino. Okay, those are two of my top 5 movies of all time. They didn't come out last year. They came out 30 years ago.
Yes.
Okay, but they're two of my favorite movies, and I will revisit them over and over and over because of that. And here's another example. The NES Classic and the Super NES Classic. I mean, they were setting the world on fire. People were fighting outside of EB Games and GameStops, punching each other in the face, trying to get an NES Classic. Why? You have to ask. I know it's funny, but it was totally true. But at the same time, soccer moms throwing punches. But at the same time, why were they doing that? They were doing that. It wasn't just a gimmick. Yeah, okay, they were kind of pushing it like a gimmick. You need to have this. But there was an underlying reason. I think a lot of people who were there, or maybe even people who had not experienced it yet, they wanted to go back and revisit, those old memories, those old games, whatever else, right? So there is interest there. And look at the PC situation. On a PC, I could sit down and turn it on, and I could play King's Quest and Police Quest from 1983, and then I could press the X button on it, and I can go right into Call of Duty or Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Yeah. So why is it that I can do that on my PC, but I can't do that on anything else? Xbox clearly has the answer here. And now the good thing is that's putting it all on one console. It's not like I have to grab the 360 that's in my closet and then pull it out to be able to play back. You know what I'm saying? Play these games.
You're making great points, dude.
All on one console. I don't have to go get a disc. I don't have to get anything. It's all right there at my disposal, and it's remarkable. Now, not to throw shade, and I'm not going to, but I have to beg the question. When you talk about one, you got to talk about the other. There's a seesaw here. And the other side, and this is something that I've been frustrated with, because there are some games, because I've had a lot of followers and stuff have been asking me personally they're enjoying that I'm doing these little things about game completions, like 1,000 out of 1,000s, 2,000s out of 2,000s, platinum trophies. And they're like, do this next, do that next. Because I've been posting my completions on Twitter and stuff. I don't want to go back and get the platinums on some of my PS4/PS5 games. Because, for example, it's been 7 months and it's won 300 Game of the Year awards. I don't even know how many bloody award shows they got. But for some reason, there's 300 awards. But Last of Us 2, I want to go back and I want to get the platinum. I ripped through the story because I didn't want to be spoiled because of all the jerks online were spoiling the story. So I ripped through it really fast to get to the end and find out what happened in the story. But now I really want to go back, and I enjoy the game. I don't care what anybody says. I enjoyed the game. I love the story. Now, the other thing is I want to go back and get that platinum. I have no desire to go back and get that platinum because there is literally no purpose. I'm literally just playing the PS4 version. Why is it 7 months later that the 300 Game of the Year award game has not been upgraded for the PlayStation 5?
Because they're going to try and sell it to you. That's why.
Well, yeah, and they're not going to get it. You're not going to get it, Sony. Not a dime. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, I know they did it with God of War. Okay, I played it. I got the platinum on God of War on the PS5 because I never got the platinum on the PS4. And then they did the same thing with Days Gone because it was releasing on PC. I mean, can you imagine that mess? They're like, why is it 60 FPS over here and this and that and the other thing on PC, but on the PS5 it's not? So they had to release that too. I get it. They were kind of painted into a corner. But the thing is, you don't see that kind of engagement going on the other side of the fence. And I think that that's a lost opportunity because my last thought here is because you got to give it to Sony's first party. Is, my God, did they ever make epic, sweeping, emotional stories? And those are truly Hollywood big budget style works of art. So wouldn't that be ripe to have them move forward and add extra frames, add the FPS boost and everything else, and just bring them into that next generation to get that engagement up? That's what I see, and I wish they would do it. I'm not getting angry at them, but I just wish they would do what Microsoft is doing right now. So either way,
at the end of the day, they're trying to make more money. That's the bottom line with Sony. They're trying to get blood from a stone, and that is the absolute truth.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, listen, folks, this is, I mean, my God, what a way to, I mean, we're an hour and 25 minutes into the show. Miles, I got to get you in on this. Again, I heard you on the podcast Xbox Era with Special Ed. And of course, that guy is just a wealth of knowledge. And one of the stories that he talked about, and it's funny because I was going to do this story. I had already did the advertising before I actually watched the podcast. I actually watched it when I was cleaning the house today, as a matter of fact. That's usually what I do. I put it on the background. I'm cleaning the house, and it's fun, right? It's giving me something to do. But the one of the big things that came up in the conversation, and what we're going to talk about right now, is that ZeniMax Online the studio that we know makes a lot of really incredible online experiences for Bethesda, could potentially be making a Star Wars Mandalorian game that could potentially be an Xbox exclusive. And we have new evidence that suggests something Star Wars is coming. Now, we had a tweet come to us from the creative director at ZeniMax Online, Ben Jones, which he told the world, I'm beyond thrilled to welcome Colin Campbell to our new AAA team at ZeniMax _online. He brings a wealth of experience to lead to the lead level design position that we know he will make a major impact on this new original IP we are working on. So who is Colin Campbell? Well, he was the lead content design. Well, he is now the lead content designer at ZeniMax Online, and he's an artist, obviously. But previously, he worked on Jedi Fallen Order, Battlefront 2, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Now, I'm sure that many in the chat are wondering where I got this information from. And of course, Idle Sloth, who is a community leader and always posting things about Xbox, he saw a tweet and then followed it up with a superimposed picture of Phil Spencer's shelf. And it's funny because, again, I have it in my notes, Miles, that the pop figure on Phil's desk that I saw superimposed looked like a Mandalorian figure. It turns out that's not in fact the case. I think Special Ed said it was somebody from Halo. Is that correct?
Yeah. I think he thought he was going to get in some trouble there because he basically, from what he told me on Xbox Era, he had somebody who came to him and talked about the Mandalorian game. He saw what he thought was the Mandalorian Funko, hits this guy up, says, "Hey, can I talk about this now that it's on Phil's shelf?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever."
Go ahead. Yeah.
And then he tweets it, and he's like, "Oh shoot, no, that's the Arbiter. Oops, my bad. Well, it's out there now." So, yeah, that was the Arbiter. It seems like, and not a Mandalorian Funko.
Okay.
In case people are wondering.
Now, my question to you is this: Microsoft is, while you were on the show Xbox Era, which again, you should definitely subscribe to them. They don't have enough subscribers, and I cannot believe that someone with an insider like Special Ed they don't have 50,000 subs. It's crazy to me. So if you like this show, you definitely got to check out Xbox Era. Their podcast is weekly. It's absolutely fantastic. Microsoft is making all kinds of moves. We know that they're being ultra aggressive, Miles. And Star Wars is something that this is not the first time we heard that they want a Star Wars exclusive. Now, Star Wars has a great history with Xbox. We saw, obviously, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. We had Republic Commando, which is for the OG Xbox. They just re-released it for the Switch and the PlayStation 4. I'm hoping that the Xbox One gets released soon enough. That's one of my favorite Star Wars games for sure. But, I mean, again, where there's smoke, Miles, there's fire. Do you think that there is really some substance to potentially Microsoft dropping that bag of money off at Disney and saying, "Hey, listen, we want to make a Star Wars game. Mandalorian is a hot game." And I know that you guys talked about it, about, ZeniMax Online Studios, they only make online games, but, we said the same thing about the Killzone guys when all they made was first-person shooters, and then they brought us the amazing Horizon Zero Dawn. So why not ZeniMax making a Star Wars Mandalorian game?
Yeah, we know Microsoft's not afraid to throw around sacks of money right now. So it's an interesting conversation to have. And yeah, in regards to ZeniMax Media, yeah, historically it's been MMOs have been their focus.
Right.
But if they're making a new team, they theoretically could make something with online components that isn't necessarily an MMO in the Mandalorian universe. And I'm sure Disney wants to ride that Mandalorian hype as much as possible because that's been huge for them. That has been probably the biggest boon to Disney Plus. Mandalorian alone has just propelled that service ahead of all of its competition in a super short period of time. So it's a very interesting idea. When we're on Xbox Era talking about this, and this is just speculation. I just want to completely clarify this in case people want to take this out of context, but we were talking about the possibility of maybe Bethesda had some sort of deal with Lucasfilm ahead of the Xbox acquisition.
Right.
And so maybe that's why, there's these talks of there's the Indiana Jones property. That's Bethesda's working on a game there. Maybe there was a contract in place that gave Bethesda a few Lucasfilms properties. And so maybe they were, they don't have a studio necessarily assigned to, let's say, a Star Wars Mandalorian game, but Bethesda, kind of like EA, has some sort of contract with Lucasfilms to make a few games with their properties. So ZeniMax Media, if they're making a new team, that would be a great fit. We know Machine Games are working on Indiana Jones.
Yep.
We know Bethesda Softworks is going to be working on Elder Scrolls. So they're pretty booked up for the most part right now. But if they're making a new team, that would be a great kind of fill for that rumored, as of now, Star Wars game.
Yeah, I mean, again, they have a lot going on. I think if you want to really make an impact on getting people to your platform, Star Wars is a good way to do it. There's just no doubt about it. And again, I think you really hit the nail on the head when you're talking about how Microsoft is not afraid to spend the money. If they feel that there's going to be an investment that's going to, again, bring people to the service, which is at the end of the day what they want, right? They want to sell consoles, sure, but they really want to sell you in on the platform. This is a great way to do that. One of the biggest Star Wars fans here in Middle-Aged Gamer Guy, I got to get your opinion on this. What are your thoughts on the potential of getting a Mandalorian exclusive new IP to come to Xbox?
Well, first of all, it would be magnificent, obviously. But, the thing is, though, what Miles was saying, all the different teams that they've got, all these games that are in the works, they're clearly not coming out this year, possibly not next year or the year. Well, it could be the year after. Could be as late as 2022, 2023. When would they get this thing off the ground? And if it were to be the Mandalorian and want to ride high off the popularity of the Mandalorian, that might be a little bit too late. You know what I mean? Because we don't know how long of a run those are going to go for. You've got the third season coming up, I believe, this year. You've got the Book of Boba Fett coming up. So maybe if they go somewhere and maybe move away from the Mandalorian franchise, but keep it within that universe, I think that might be a good thing, depending on how the series goes, right? That's the way I'm kind of seeing it. Now, that being said, if you actually watch the series, which, of course, I'm sure everybody here has, that series basically played out like a video game. If you think about it, like it almost seemed like Mass Effect, right? One planet, shoot off to the other planet. Some stuff happens there in that episode. What happens at the end of the episode? He flies off and goes to another planet and then lands on that planet and does a whole bunch of stuff over there and things this and kills that and does this and saves these people there. And so it was basically, I'm watching it and I'm going, this is great. But you know what? It's basically just Mass Effect. You know what I mean? It's just like you're going from planet to planet doing all these things. And like each episode was a different sort of area and whatever else. So yeah, absolutely. In terms of the framework of the show, the framework of the show is basically a video game. So it would actually be perfect to do that kind of thing. Now, like I said, what team would be working on this? Would they have to put together a new team considering the other major franchise? I mean, you're talking about Elder Scrolls here. That's major. That's like Grand Theft Auto level major, right? Then you've got the Indiana Jones situation, which of course they are doing with Disney. So, I mean, at least they're in bed with Disney. So there's that. So there's credence to the rumor that this is coming. But at the other side of it, they're not going to pull off people from those teams to say, hey, yeah, I know Elder Scrolls is great, but I need you to work on this. Like, it's not going to happen. So they need the manpower. They need the people to be able to put this together. And I just don't see it happening within the next 3 to 4 years. And by then, I think riding the wave of the Mandalorian popularity might have waned by that point, especially if they decide to cut the series, let's say, after about 3 or 4 seasons. And you know what I mean? Then it's over. And then all of a sudden it leaves the mind share of the of the viewership and everything else. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, now there's a Mandalorian game? Like, why now? It's over. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm really torn on this because I've been reading about it, thinking about it all day. And I'm just like, where could they go with this? So, but I mean, what you can do, as always, you can expand on it. I mean, you could expand on the lore. I mean, Star Wars lore could go on for, generations, really, right? So they could explore any part of this universe and just say, yeah, we're doing this now. Yeah, we're doing that now. Now, I know they're remaking KOTOR. I pray it's a remake, not a remaster. But they're doing that. But I think the Old Republic would have probably been a better bet because by the time the Old Republic, well, the rumored Old Republic trilogy is coming out in theaters,
the High Republic is what they're calling it.
Oh, okay, right. So the High Republic, right? By the time that actually hits silver screens, that would still be minimum 3 years from now, because they haven't even done pre-production yet. They're still writing the damn thing, right? So maybe that would, like, maybe trying to like tether off of that, and maybe, you know what I'm saying? Like maybe tether off of the ideas of what's going on in the High Republic, maybe do something there so that you can have some kind of like a companion piece and then sort of ride the popularity off of each one, assuming, of course, that the movies are good and, of course, the game is of quality, right? So, I'm all over the place with this one. But either way, whatever ends up happening, I just pray that it does, and I'm super excited for it because, first of all, we're going to get it in Game Pass, which is wonderful. I don't have to sit there and worry about the price. But anyways, that's a whole other story. But, I'm excited for it day one. I'm a big Star Wars fan. Always have been. I could talk forever about it. But I'm not. And I'm going to pass off the mic. But I'm just saying, if it does come true, I am rooting for them. So that's what I have to say.
Tempest, let's get your opinion on it. You're another big Star Wars fan. You like Mass Effect. You like MMOs. This could potentially, maybe not. Again, I hope it's not an MMO. I'm not a big MMO kind of a guy. Not my thing. I'm a single player, selfish experience kind of a guy. But where do you fall on not only them creating a new AAA team, but bringing in this guy who has a huge history with Star Wars?
I mean, quite frankly, it's good news, right? This is what we've been asking for years at this point. We've been constantly asking for Microsoft to get these IPs, right? Hold on one quick second. I got to mute this. My daughter's playing the game. Okay, sorry about that. We've been asking for, Marvel IPs, different IPs from things, because we see what Sony has with Spider-Man, so we've been asking for this, really. Machine Games has Indiana Jones. Yeah, so why not at this point? I mean, Game Pass has so many subscribers, and it's just going to go up. These companies know it's going to go up. It's not stopping anytime soon, and so their IPs are going to be out there, and people are going to play them, and so I don't know. I think it's awesome. His pedigree is pretty huge. Me personally, I'm trying to how to word this. You can make an MMO style game and still have a great story. You can still play it as a single person. Believe it or not, when the Old Republic came out, the Star Wars MMO, you could absolutely play that by yourself. It had a fantastic story, and it's actually kind of a shame that, I know you yourself, Boom, have probably never played that.
No.
Great stories, legitimately fantastic stories, and you could play it. They made it so you could play it as a single person. You had companions. It was like playing a traditional BioWare game, only the gameplay played out more, like an MMO. You had 20, 30 abilities. You had to play it mouse and keyboard. But it was fantastic. So I'd be all up for it. And you can make it approachable for somebody that wants to play it single player. Only after the fact they give you the option to play it as an MMO, and you have the end game, the group content, all that stuff. So selfishly speaking, it's up my alley, man. I would love it if that was the case. So I don't know. It's good stuff. And you know what? Like I said, we've been asking for this. I want to see more of it. And at this point, I think Star Wars is going to have more of an identity through its games. All thanks to it being kicked off by Jedi, Fallen Order, and now Battlefront 2 is fantastic. So keep the ball rolling. Make Star Wars more identifiable through video games and stories through that medium, because the movie side of things is
well, no, thank goodness for Disney Plus, because we know that obviously
The Mandalorian was good.
Yeah, what they're doing with the TV universe is leaps and bounds better than what we've seen in the last three films. 3 films are freaking awful. But
Right.
again, this is and tomorrow is May the 4th be with you. We're going to be talking about our favorite Star Wars experience on the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. But let's get Cybernox in on the conversation. Cyber, knowing that Microsoft is in the business of spending money. We have rumors going left and right about a new Star Wars project that could potentially be an exclusive, and obviously one of the teams at Bethesda, ZeniMax Online Studios, is bringing in a new team with a bunch of new team members that have Star Wars experience. How excited are you to see where they take this?
It's always extremely exciting when a new studio comes in and they're working on a new IP, and I'm always for like new experiences. If it goes into the Star Wars realm and it goes to the Mandalorian route, I think Mag mentioned something that's kind of interesting, like how far away is this game, but can this game potentially be? And at that point, will the hype for the Mandalorian still be there that it is now? But I like it, man. I think anytime you can tell, a new Star Wars story, something similar to like Fallen Order, make it your own and try to tie into that universe. It's always a win for any fans, all of the fans of that franchise, of Star Wars and everything else. But yeah, I'm all for it, man. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do, see when they'll announce this thing, and see when potentially we can probably get our hands on it. That'll be great.
I mean, again, we can't say that we know it's not in pre-production or anything right now. We can't say anything like that. So we don't know how far away it is. Is it a Mandalorian game? Is it a High Republic game? Who knows? But we know that Star Wars and Xbox who notoriously work together, could be working together again. And I think that, they have something going with Disney. They have Indiana Jones coming out. Again, we don't know if that's going to be an exclusive or that's going to be something like Miles had mentioned, that it's a deal they might have had before they were purchased. So we won't know until they tell us. And I don't know how long that is going to be. But Clowns, let's get your opinion on this, brother, and then we'll get Everborn, and we'll get Miles out of here because he's obviously got some places to be. Clowns, what are your expectations about getting a Star Wars exclusive from ZeniMax Online?
Well, first of all, if that happens, I have no idea how excited I would be. A lot of people don't realize this, but Microsoft and Marvel and Disney have a very close relationship. If you go back to when Black Panther was out, they did a lot of promotions on a special console with Black Panther. And, just from interviewing several different Marvel people, they've even brought up in the interview their relationship with Xbox. So believe it or not, I know that Sony may have gotten that Spider-Man. It doesn't change the fact that Marvel and Disney still have a great relationship with Microsoft. So it's very possible to see something, even if it's a timed exclusive or a Game Pass exclusive for a little bit. Very possible, and don't put this past anything, because there's things that Disney approved for special consoles with Xbox that Sony didn't get. So everybody keeps forgetting these kind of things, and they're like, well, Sony is close to Marvel because of Spider-Man. That's just one character. All the other stuff that Marvel and Xbox has worked on together has just been amazing. And some of the interviews I've been on, they just talk about that stuff. So it's very possible, and I would be ecstatic for something. I think it would be a timed exclusive, if anything, but that doesn't change the fact that it's something new. It's a new experience, like Cyber said, and I'm all up for new experiences and trying out new things and new games. It doesn't matter to me if it'd be an MMO or a single player story or some kind of like mix of single player story and then a multiplayer. I would love it. I love Star Wars. I think it would be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to whatever other rumors or news comes out about this.
Yeah, me too. We're going to be watching this with an eagle's eye for sure. Let's get Everborn's final opinion on this. Everborn, I know that you're a big Star Wars fan, and obviously this news comes to us not only from Miles, who was in on the Xbox Era podcast, but we heard Jeff Grubb talk about this. We've heard other people. Jez Corden has talked about this, and this is a story that's making the rounds. And again, I'm always in the belief that where there's smoke, there's fire. I think that we're going to potentially get a Star Wars related game being made by ZeniMax Studios. I'm pretty sure that it is in fact going to be an Xbox exclusive because, again, I understand that everyone's like, well, it should be for everyone, but you know what? They own the company now, so why not make an exclusive and get people to come into your ecosystem? And the only way you can do that.
You see, Boom, that is where I disagree with you. If it is in fact an MMO that's made by ZeniMax Online.
Well, we don't know. We don't know it's an MMO. So that's the thing,
right? But I'm saying, like, if it's not that, if it's made by id, if it's made by Bethesda, anyone else, but if it's made by ZeniMax Online, I suspect it's gonna be, because if it's an MMO and that's the game they're making, only in that scenario, I think it goes to everybody, not out of principle, just out of the nature of an MMO is that you need everybody like in it playing it. So there's that. Now to Mag's point, I love that you pointed out that the Mandalorian was designed like a video game. It really was designed like an RPG. You know what I mean? Like he has to get his armor, and then he has to get his jetpack.
Yeah,
he gets the right weapon, and then you got to travel from place to place, meet NPCs, right? Go on quests for people. It really is, and I disagree with you a little bit in that even if the season of Mandalorian is done, the way the show is designed to connect the different parts of the Star Wars universe, and then there's spin-off shows out of that, it's like they sort of took the MCU model and then sort of put it onto Star Wars, where it's not just going to be about sort of this one family bloodline of the Skywalkers. I mean, obviously they always come back to it because, we saw the ending, right? But I think that it can be a Mandalorian game because the very nature of that show sort of brought everyone together, and then everyone can jump out from there. So I think the Mandalorian sticks with us in the Star Wars sort of mythos, and it could be it doesn't have to be Mando, right? It could just be a Mandalorian that's traveling around doing missions for people, because they're a bounty hunter, right? And that's kind of what you are in games. You do quests for people and they reward you, right? So I think you could have a Mandalorian game. And the question is, if it is something that sort of ZeniMax set up and they don't have a studio to do it, could one of the other studios, the 15 Xbox studios,
I would love to see the Coalition take on something like this.
Right? Because it's like, if we secured the contract, but now we're all one big happy family. So how about we, pass it off to the Coalition, pass it off to, anyone else that's up at bat, right? Like maybe In Exile does it. Not that they're not working on their own thing, but just so super, super excited for that if and when it happens. But what do we all think the likelihood of it like coming to fruition and when it would be, right? So are we, because like if they haven't started already making this yet, does this mean if it is a thing, we don't see it till 2024?
That's a fantastic question. Again, I'm wondering if we get some sort of announcement at E3 that they are working on it, that they, or even, and again, maybe even I don't have this on good authority, folks. So don't say that Mr. Boomstick said it and look for it tomorrow. But tomorrow is May the 4th be with you. It's a big Star Wars day.
We are going to get like some kind, not
something
like
has to drop.
I think we're
tomorrow.
getting game announcements tomorrow.
Something has to drop tomorrow for Star Wars related. I know Tim Dog, and if you don't know who Tim Dog is, then you probably should not be on social media because he's everywhere. He is Mr. Xbox. He said to look out this week for some big announcements. I believe him because he has some inside sources. So we'll see. We'll definitely
no. super exciting. And if it is Star, I'm of that opinion. We'll hear something tomorrow. And if Xbox or Phil or ZeniMax, whoever secured it, if they bring a Star Wars game home and they knock it out of the park, man.
Yeah.
Fun times.
Yeah, no, absolutely indeed. Miles, listen, I want to get you out of here because I'm not going to have you sit here for 15 minutes and while I read super chats. Listen, brother, it was awesome to have you a part of today's show. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. It was, again, love what you're doing over at Windows Central. Love what you're doing just in the community in general. Like I said, I think that you, Jeff Grubb, Jez Corden, there are quite a few people that I put really high on the pedestal because the way that you interact with the community. I honestly think that is really one of the traits that stands out for me. I'm a community first guy. I built this channel based on being a community first person, and you really do take it, do the right thing by the community by answering the questions and taking time to talk to people. Tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, but more importantly, tell them about Chatter Days and what you got going on at Windows Central.
Yeah, well, really appreciate you having me on. It's been awesome. Some great conversations, some great topics. Appreciate it. Yeah, like I said in the beginning, I'm always down to just hang out and talk. And that's what's great about gaming and about this community in particular is, there's no sort of pretension. We can all get online. We can all talk about what we love in gaming. So yeah, I'm down to do that anytime. If you want to send me memes or if you want to harass me about some bad takes on Twitter, it's just at Miles Dompierre. And then Xbox Chatter Days, if you want to, it's I guess more of an intimate vibe. It's like a one-on-one me and a host of guests. We're gonna have Jeff Grubb on next week for that, but nice. It's Saturdays over on the Windows Central Gaming YouTube channel at 12 p.m. Eastern. Great crowd over there, a lot of interaction. I encourage super chats, people to interact with us and try to make it a conversation with the community. And that's about it for me. I keep it short and sweet.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Miles, and definitely got to catch up with you again. Maybe we'll get you back on after E3 so we can we could discuss in detail what Microsoft brought to the big show.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hit me up.
Definitely, brother. Have a good night, man. Thanks so much again.
Yeah. Take care, everybody.
All right, take care, brother. All right, so listen, what I want to do is I want to catch up with some of these super chats, and I'm sorry, I normally get them as they come in, but because we had limited time, I didn't want to have Miles not get his point in. Obviously, he was a big guest for this very small show, so let me just catch up on them, and we'll get everyone's outros. The next one comes to us from a good friend of the show, Chaos Mike, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, super excited for the FPS boost on the games in my backlog. Looking forward to the future on both my Xbox Series X and PS5. Just got the PS5 last week. Well, congratulations, because that's like finding a 4-leaf clover in a field of clovers that have three leaves. Congratulations on that. We also had Davikin89 drop a $2 super chat. Thank you for your generosity, Davikin. But more importantly, thanks for hanging out. He says, let's go down the rabbit hole, gentlemen. And Miles, yeah, I think we went down a little bit. Not too much, but I think enough. Michelle Alexandria, thanks for being here. She drops an outstanding $3 super sticker, and I definitely appreciate the generosity. 108 Dragons TV drops a $10 super chat and says, thanks to Sony gamers worrying about resolutions instead of playing games. And now that Xbox has resolutions and frame rates advantage, now it doesn't matter. We need to enjoy our games. Returnal, $76. Listen, I'm right there with you. George Driver drops a very generous $5 super chat and says this: I bought Refundal, and it's not a bad game, but the game has game-breaking issues, crashes, and rooms load without doors, won't open, have to restart the circle. Yeah, see, I'm not down with that. I'm a Easy drops an additional super chat of $10. Says I am a Canadian like Mag.
Hey,
and here in Quebec, we give credit to his point even more for Returnal. It'll take 8 hours of hard work to minimum wage just to buy one PlayStation game. 3 games is 24 plus hours of work. Yikes. Mighty Ryan drops a $1 super chat, and thanks so much for that, Ryan. Definitely appreciate you being here. Kay Asante, good and generous friend of the show, he drops a $5 super chat. Says, evening, folks, digging the conversation. I've been hooked on Returnal, but I got the damn door bug last night after 7 hours, and so I'm taking a break. Yeah, dude, I'm sorry for that, brother. I'm glad that you're enjoying it. That sucks that you had that after 7 hours, you had that another person with the breaking bugs. I don't understand it. Davican89 drops an additional super chat of $2. Says, maybe Sony doesn't know how to handle Unreal Engine. Yeah, I mean, they do so well with it. I don't know. It's hard to say what's going on with that game. And again, it is. I mean, you can call it cheeky, you can call it finger pointy, but that message that came from one of the representatives of Housemarque sounded very accusatory, in my opinion, whether he was pissed or not. And they, that whole conversation where we sent the report to Sony and they said it's this and we don't know what that is. That's a big problem. Kirby Louise, JC Claramore drops a $2 super chat and says, Miles, where's MechAssault and Final Fantasy IX remake? Listen, MechAssault, please. That is one of my loves from the OG Xbox. I'd love to see a remake of that. Actually, I think Phil Spencer talked about that. It's real messy with the IP. Everyone owns like a different piece of the IP. It's ridiculous. Kirby Louise. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's a developer. He's been on my show numerous times. He drops a $10 super chat. And he actually said something. I read this during the show, and I wanted to read this right now. He says, you got to love that every time Steam or AMD or NVIDIA, etc., add something cool or a new feature, it gets near universal praise. But when Xbox does it, it really makes you think, doesn't it? And that is a fantastic point. It's like even when Microsoft puts out a good game, it's not good enough for the media sometimes, and certainly not good for the trolls of the interwebs. Sir X-Man drops a $2 super chat and says, I hope they give us Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I think you could play it now. I'm pretty sure of it, but I don't know if they're going to do. Does it really need the FPS boost? Maybe it does. DJ Birdo DOS drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, hit that like button. Definitely appreciate that. Stamp 1646 drops a $5 super chat and says, great panel today. Love the topics. Question, has the panel talked about ZeniMax Online? And obviously we just did. And Sir X-Men drops an additional $2 super chat and says, screw Star Wars, give me Battlestar Galactica. Well, listen, again, this has been a great show. We're closing in on the 2 hour. We had over almost 500 people here for Miles to come in. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us. And some of the comments, man, have been really, really nice. And I definitely want to thank, I have to shout out, again, listen, I read all the comments, folks. And even though this is a small show, trust me when I tell you, you get a lot of nasty ones. But for me, I got to be honest, I get more nice ones. And this one by Big Daddy in the chat. He says, boom, you're fast becoming one of my favorite podcasters. Keep up the good work. Folks, listen, you don't understand how comments like that really push the buttons in a good way for content creation. And obviously I do 4 live shows a week, and it's tiring sometimes. I'm not going to front, but to hear stuff like that, it really does go a long way. So thank you for the compliment, and of course thank you for the generosity. But we have to get everyone out of here, and we're going to start first with Tempest Son, because I see you got the kids there. Tempest, obviously you're a big part of the show. You were here at its inception. We love that you are part of the show each and every week. I want you to push what you got going on with your Gundam channel. I think what you're doing is amazing over there. I want to see you get to 1,000 subs by the end of 2021. Tell everyone where they can reach out to you and potentially not get shot in the face because they're going to be busy watching your YouTube channel.
That is true. Thank you, Boom, very, very, very much. Yeah, I got stuff in the works. Hey, you can see I got the little one. Yeah, so I don't know where the wife is, but you know what? I'm in charge of it now. Yeah, channel launching here soon. I had like a test video up and you tweeted it out. I got a lot of people watching it, so thank you very, very, very much. Yeah, it's going to exciting. Like I said, it's going to be a lot of work, but you know what? I'm super excited about it. I never thought I'd find something that I'm as passionate about as gaming, and now I can say I have 2 hobbies that I absolutely adore, and that's pretty much why I'm doing the channel. It's just something that, you know what? it's new to me. I want to make videos and hopefully grow as somebody that gets better and better at it. And I just want to share it with everybody, and hopefully I can grow and give out some pointers, some tutorials, maybe, who knows. But yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you trying to push it. Oh, guy's coughing here. So
No, that's all right, brother. Listen, this is what we do here. We're all family, and
thank you to everybody watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.
yeah, definitely, brother. We definitely want to see you succeed because you obviously were here at the inception of this show, and again, you're a big Gundam fan, and see you doing the work over there is fantastic. Have a good night, brother, and we'll see you next week. Everborn Saga. Let's get you on out of here, brother. You got a lot going on. You're still working with the Everborn Saga. Tell everyone where they can potentially read your manga and, more importantly, help you support your projects.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you can find me at Everborn Saga everywhere. That is YouTube. That is, and we just got to over 100 subs. So there's a custom URL. So it's like literally Everborn Saga at Twitter, Everborn Saga on Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, but more importantly, everbornsaga.com, where you can get up to date with the series. So we just had the Kickstarters that you all know. Ariel's Adventure will be on sale soon after we get it to all the backers. You can get this right now, not the hardcover, but the paperback. But the hardcovers will be coming in soon. And you can also check out me and Kay Asante from the chat. You all know him.
Yes.
We've got 2 new shows we're doing. One's on my channel on Thursdays at 8, where we talk about what's going on in TV, movies, comic books, and novels. It's a different topic each week.
Did you see that Marvel trailer today, bro?
Oh, we are going to be talking about that,
dude. That I'm not going to front, and it made me emotional because
all the feels.
Yeah,
you saw
it
that
did.
Fantastic Four at the end.
Yes,
I did a whole thread of who I would cast, and it's not the Emily Blunt thing, because everybody, that's who everybody wants. I got some cool casting ideas, but we'll talk about that on Thursday. Check us out at 8. And then on Saturday mornings, we're trying to slot down the time, but we've got on Kay Asante's channel the Gaming Circle podcast, where we sort of talk about it. So we started that one as well. We're going to be doing that Saturday mornings and Thursday night at 8. So check us out, and Everborn Saga everywhere. But more importantly, everbornsaga.com. You can get some of these books for yourself.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Clowns, why don't you tell us what you got going on, because you've been a busy man over at 4 Guys with Quarters TV. Who is your next guest, dude?
Well, we actually just interviewed Erin Fitzgerald today. She's really cool. It was almost a 2-hour interview. She has over 300 credits as a voice actor in video games. Most recent, Near Replicant, I believe, and she has some up and coming projects that she couldn't talk about. But let's just say that Activision Blizzard likes her work, so I'll say that. Okay. And everybody, you guys can check me out at 4GQ TV, also on YouTube at 4 Guys with Quarters, and hope to see you guys there.
Yeah, brother, we're definitely going to check that out. You've been doing some great work, and some of the interviews have been nothing short of amazing. Cyber Knox, first of all, welcome back, brother. You still sound a little tired, so I want you to make sure you take some time off. Doing a 2-hour show right after being out for a couple of weeks with COVID is not an easy task. Hopefully you had a good time, you're feeling well, and we'll get you back here next week. Tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, and more importantly, check out your YouTube channel.
I appreciate that, Boom. Yeah, it's I'm not 100% yet, but I'm getting there. Cybernox everywhere, guys. Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, anywhere there's gaming involved, Cybernox. And also on YouTube. But also I have my second channel.
Yes, talk about that.
Yeah, Xbox Game Pass Club. It's like a book club for games, and specifically those games in Game Pass. We select a game at random, try it out, and then hopefully build a community big enough that we'll be able to discuss the game and maybe give it a community review. It's awesome. Last month when I was playing the Medium, I actually got a lot of subscribers to the channel, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, it was just good being back, talking games with you guys, listening in to everyone's take, and I can't wait to do it again next week.
Yeah, brother. Well, it's great to have you back. Enjoy the rest of your night. And the loudest man on the planet. I even upped it there. It's not just Canada. It's not just Texas. It's the planet. No, obviously. Thanks for being here, Mag. Love that you're a part of this show each and every week. And obviously you got some things in the works that unfortunately got held up because of the virus regarding your music situation.
Yes, sir.
And you're definitely gonna come back to that. But tell everyone where they can reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media.
Yes, well, you can reach out to me at on Twitter at the Middle Age Game Guy. That's with the GY at the end, and of course on the PlayStation 5 and on the Xbox Series X. You can follow me at all one word, all capitals, because I don't know how to be quiet. I am the Mag. You can find me there. As for my YouTube work with Pulse Music Media, yes, we are on hold because we are getting crushed by COVID up here, and vaccines just aren't coming in fast enough. But it's okay. We are going to take the summer to refocus, and we are going to be launching new content in the fall. So we are looking at September to start relaunching our the work that we're going to be doing on YouTube. More on that later. Anyways, guys, it was a great show. You can find me here, of course, every Monday evening, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick XL and friends. And on Tuesday night, that's tomorrow night, folks, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me with none other than Noof Nukem and Titan Drago on Gaming After Dark. Guys, it was a pleasure. Miles, I know he already left the building, but it was wonderful to have him as a guest. Guys, panel, chat, you guys are all amazing. I can't wait for next week. We'll see you all then.
Yeah, I'm looking to bring another special guest in for next Monday. I will let you guys know who that is when we're off the air because I have no confirmation as of yet. Davikin89 drops an additional $2 super chat and says, just KOTOR, it's okay, fire. Yeah, please, a new KOTOR. King One Supreme drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Coalition third-person action adventure Mando game, please. Yes, I agree. I think they would be killer at it, and they can give Gears a break, and I think that would be cool. Sir X-Man drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Clowns is also a great golfer. I did not know that, Clowns. But listen, folks, I want to thank everybody for being here. The support for Double Barrel Gaming has been incredible. I made this announcement over the weekend. I just found out about it when I was looking at the numbers because, at some point in your YouTube career, it does become, it becomes a numbers thing. You have to, if you want to make it, see where you're failing, you want to make advancements. I crossed 2 million views in 3.5 years. That is ridiculous. I don't know how I did it. I don't know if it was because of the content or just the abundance of shows that I'm doing. But yeah, 2 million views in 3.5 years. And that is really thanks to everyone here, not only on the panel, but everyone that tunes in each and every week, whether it's live or catches it on video on demand. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for making an old man's dream come true. Of course, I want to thank the incredible generosity that continues to come in each and every show. Big shout out to the people that dropped the super chat that have become channel members and continue to support Double Barrel Gaming. And of course, I'll close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dear old dad taught us when we were kids. And I think now, more than ever, it's super important. He said, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of Primetime Gaming with Mr. Boomstick and Friends.